All right, today we are diving into a technology that could genuinely reshape our world. I'm talking about everything from the car you drive to the phone you're probably holding right now. We're talking about the solid-state battery. And this isn't just a small step up, it's a total reinvention of how we store and use energy. Experts throw around this term a lot, the Holy Grail, and they don't use it lightly. Solid-state batteries get this label because they promise to fix pretty much every single major headache we have with today's batteries. It's this incredible, almost mythical prize that's been just out of reach, but that might be about to change. So let's just lay it all out. Right now, with the batteries we have, we're stuck with that nagging range anxiety in our EVs, real safety concerns because they can be flammable, and charging times that, well, they take forever. The solid-state promise is the answer to all of that. We're talking a potential for double the range, practically zero fire risk, and getting a full charge and the time it takes to grab a cup of coffee. It's a game changer. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get into why this revolution is so desperately needed. Then, we'll look at the one simple change that makes all the difference. We'll meet the key players in this race, dig into the tiny microscopic challenges, tackle the massive manufacturing problems, and finally, map out a realistic timeline for when this tech actually hits the streets. So first things first, let's set the stage. Why do we even need this? I mean, the lithium-ion batteries and all our stuff seem to work just fine, right? Well, the truth is, they're hitting a wall. We're demanding more power, more range, and better safety than they were ever really designed to give. The Achilles heel of pretty much every battery we use today comes down to one thing, a flammable liquid inside it called an electrolyte. It's what lets the energy move around, but it's also what creates the fire risk, a nasty thing called thermal runaway. That liquid is what limits how much power we can cram in, and it's why our batteries slowly die over time. It is the single biggest thing holding us back. So how do you solve that? Well, the entire idea behind a solid-state battery is brilliantly simple. It's all about replacing that one problematic part. It's a single change, but it's the one that unlocks all that holy grail potential we were talking about. Here's the magic trick. You take out that flammable liquid and you replace it with a stable, solid material. It could be a super thin sheet of ceramic or maybe a polymer. It does the exact same job, letting ions travel from one side to the other, but it does it without any of the danger. And that simple swap lets you design a much safer, more powerful, and way more compact battery. Think about it like this. In your phone's battery right now, ions are basically just swimming around in this kind of chaotic liquid soup. But in a solid-state battery, they're zipping through a highly organized, perfectly structured, solid superhighway. It's not just safer, it is a fundamentally more efficient way to move energy. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because solid-state isn't just one single invention. It's more of a category. There's a huge race going on right now between different companies and different approaches, and each one has its own set of pros and cons on the road to becoming a real product. And this chart gives you a perfect bird's-eye view of that race. You've got the all-solid state, that's the ultimate goal, the dream machine with the best potential performance, but it's also super expensive and hard to make right now. Then you have semi-solid, which is a really clever compromise. And you've also got sodium-ion, which is all about using cheaper materials, even if it means sacrificing a little performance. A lot of companies like Qingdao Energy are placing their bets right here on this semi-solid or hybrid battery. They see it as a smart bridge to the future. It gives you a lot of the big benefits, like way better safety and performance, but it uses manufacturing techniques that are much closer to what we already have. That makes it a faster and cheaper way to get to market. Okay, if this all sounds so great, you've got to be wondering, why don't we have these everywhere already? To get that, we have to zoom in. I mean, way in. Down to the atomic level, to see the invisible villains that are holding this whole thing back. So what is it? What's the one problem that's giving battery scientists nightmares? What is the single biggest roadblock on the path to the perfect solid-state battery? It comes down to this, interfacial effusion. It sounds really technical, but the concept is pretty simple. It's the incredibly hard job of making two solid materials stick together absolutely perfectly, with no gaps, and stay that way every time you charge and discharge the battery. Any tiny space is a recipe for disaster. Because what happens is, as the battery works, even the smallest gap can grow. It creates a void. That means the layers lose contact, which kills the battery's performance. But it gets worse. Those little gaps become the perfect breeding ground for a battery's #1 enemy. And that enemy has a name, dendrites. Just imagine these microscopic, razor-sharp needles of lithium literally growing inside the battery. They can actually crack the solid electrolyte, creating a short circuit that kills the battery instantly. Stopping these from ever forming is one of the most critical challenges in this entire field. But let's say you do it. You solve all the science. You create one perfect little battery in a pristine lab. That's amazing. But that's only half the battle. Now comes the next colossal challenge. How do you make millions, or even billions of them, cheap enough for everyone? And this is a truly brutal gauntlet. Some of the raw materials are incredibly expensive. Taking a process from a lab bench and scaling it up to a giant factory is unbelievably hard. You need totally new supply chains. And as one source said, the details are killers. Something that sounds tiny, like a new material not sticking properly to the factory equipment, can shut down the entire production line. So, keeping all of those huge challenges in mind, let's put it all together. What's a realistic timeline here? When can you and I actually expect to see this amazing technology powering our cars and our lives? Well, the good news is we are already on the road. Semi-solid batteries are being tested in electric vehicles right now. By 2025, we're going to see major car makers launching their own pilot production lines. The big target date is 2028 for the first cars with true all-solid-state batteries to hit the showroom. After 2030, that's when we expect to see mass adoption really kick in, as the costs come down. And if you want proof that the industry is serious, just follow the money. The projections here are just incredible. The market is set to explode from about $150 million today to over 17 times billion in a decade. Growth like that is a massive signal that the big players believe these challenges are going to be solved. So, that leaves us with one final thought. The science is tough, the engineering is a massive headache, but the momentum here is just undeniable. The solid-state future is coming. The only real question left is how it's going to arrive. Will it be a slow, gradual evolution that starts with these hybrid batteries, or will it be a sudden, disruptive revolution that changes everything all at once?